Hello to all. Today is April 26th. We had earnings yesterday from Meta and from Google. Meta went up. The whole AI hype worked out. Supposedly they're they're first in the races. They're doing well with that. Google's got to explain itself if it's going to lose market share on Google search and so on. Let's start with the markets, and then we're going to talk about hard to borrow stocks. How could you short a hard to borrow stock? And we're going to get an example with FRC. We'll start with the markets. So first thing, I want you guys to look over here. We're looking at a weekly chart on the diamonds. I've shown you guys this before. The diamonds did hit a resistance line here at around the 340 area, and they did start coming down. I myself, when I trade the markets, and I can't put thousands of dollars into shorting or buying the diamonds, so I technically just take puts or calls, one or the other. The SPY, we kind of have the same thing here with the SPY, okay, but we didn't reach the band, the higher end of the band, right? The tunnel that we're looking at. We kind of just stopped right around the 415 area, went down. 410 is a major area. Major case, major support, major resistance area. We're going to see if it's going to be support or resistance, whether we're going to hold above that or below it. So keep an eye on that. Okay, the 410 mark. And here's the cues on a daily graph. I've shown you this before. This is the tunnel. It's sort of a bear flag. And, the cues kind of got to the high end part of the band, as we've seen last week. And from there, we kind of went down, went up, and now we're going down. We'll see how that plays out. Let's talk about the banking sector and hard to borrow, okay? Let me show you this screen here. So we're going to look, the first thing we're going to look at is, we're going to look at the KRE on a 5-minute graph. I've shown you this graph over and over in previous videos. And this right here was the day that we fell from, all the way, it was March 13th or 14th. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was March 14th. We ended up falling all the way down to 41.90. Okay, I think it was 41.91 to be exact. You want to look at it, we'll look at it on a daily graph. Will give us a better idea of what we're looking at. So this was it. Here we go. It was on March 13th, and the low was 41.92. Okay, so I've obviously put this line as 41.92 as a major area. Here we go. That's the orange line right here. And we've come here, we've tested it. We've tested it once. We went down to 41.28. It was on the 24th. We couldn't stay below this area. So that area of support was broken. The trend is down. We spoke about going with the trend. I myself took puts. I actually lost money. They all expired on Friday on all these puts. I had them in a bunch of banking stocks. I kind of missed the dates. You kind of also have to make sure you take the puts or the calls to the right dates. Give yourself enough time on them, and I'll explain to you right now. So I took puts, below the $42 when we were trading somewhere around the $45, because the range was all the way from 41.90 all the way up till about 47, then till about 46.50, then we had resistance 45. So I took 30-day puts, and they just expired on Friday. I didn't make any money of them. I actually lost money on them. But I got to make it up yesterday in FRC, and I'll show you that in a minute. And so we broke it here on the 24th. We came back up all the way up to the 45.65. And look at these levels, how they're still holding up really, really nicely. Every one of these lines that we got here is actually helping us determine our resistance or support area. It happened again, okay, right around on the April 4th. Okay, we broke that line. We kind of stayed below it on April 5th and April 6th, and we came back up. Schwab was doing well. I remember those days, whatever it was. And, we traded again. Here again, we held it. So we broke it a little bit, but it was support, 41.99. Finally, now, we've broken, and seems like we're going to stay below this 41.91. Now, look how important trend lines can be, because here we are. Yeah, it was April 25th. We broke down below the 4190 and it came back up to 4190 and it turned into a resistance finally and we fell. So we know that 4190 is now our resistance level. This is the first time that the support was tested and it turned into a resistance. And now we got sellers of 4190. What happened today? Boom, KRE, the sector jumped up all the way up from 4075 area to 4190, broke it by a couple of cents. We went up to 4195, it seems like, and we shot right back down. So we're going to keep an eye on this area still, and we're going to see how it plays out. Okay, you got to try to remember how these support and resistance that I'm trying to teach you. You always have a support. It's a support until it breaks. Once it breaks, we kind of want to see that we're going to stay below that area, and that support turns into a resistance, and that's what's happening now with this 4190 area, FRC. You know, when you can't short a stock, FRC is hard to borrow, right? And this stock was trading in the low, if I recall, was somewhere around, I don't know what happened to all my lines here. Oh, here we go, 5-minute graph. The low was somewhere around 1149. That was the low from March 14th, all right? Here we go. I'm going to go all the way back down. Here we are. This was the first low. It was 17, which we broke, and then we came down. The next low was 1149, and then we finally started breaking that. We started breaking that yesterday, April 25th. Okay, in pre-market, the stock opened, traded, and they started talking about it on the news that it's going to need some sort of a bailout, and the government doesn't want to step up and bail them out. And lo and behold, the stock is falling. But throughout the day, you want to short the stock. You don't know, A, if it's going to pop up in your face because someone's going to come and save the bank. And so that's one negative of shorting stock. And the other negative is the fact that you can't even borrow these shares. You can't even short stock. Your broker dealer won't lend you these stocks to short them. So in that case, you could actually take puts. You could buy puts, which are expiring, you know, either at the end of the week or the end of the, you know, in 2 weeks from now or a month or whatever puts you could find, the shortest ones, and trade those. And that's what happened here. Within 2 days, the stock went down. Once it broke that 1140-50 area, all the way down today, went down to like 475, I think, more or less. And when we jump back up, right now we are again. So every single time it jumps back up, you know, when it goes down, obviously you're gonna have to close some of these puts, take some profit, you know, and you're gonna have to re-enter. You could re-enter that short again on those puts. So if you took profit, you know, you could re-enter your short. The last puts I took were, let's say, around the $9 area, right? But it doesn't mean that that was the last ones that I took, because I keep covering every single time it goes down and then it pops back up. I keep trying to take shorts again and again in the stock. So it's like a step, you know, like a ladder. You got to be able to figure this out, how it's going to work. But if you can't find a stock to borrow, if stock is hard to borrow, you could play the puts of that week instead. You could buy the puts instead of trying to fish around and trying to borrow the stock. That was your lesson on hard to borrow and your resistance in KRE 4190. Have a great day. Hope you enjoy this class.